Welcome to another class of our Module 3 course. And in this one, we are going to discover the 45 degrees that, in other words, considered to be called semi-square, half square. If a square is 90 degrees, a semi-square will be 45 degrees. Imagine a very sharp corner. And this is from the family of the squares versus the triangles, that is the trine, and the sextile, that is more harmonic. The square family are a challenge, that something should be solved, and this is a conflict of a process, is a moment of crisis. So of course we need to use our artistic side to interpret which planets, what the archetype of each planet, and what their marriage of them together to illustrate, and to start measuring the aspect they are doing from the moment they met to the next, until they complete a cycle to start a new one. In the middle of the process, until they will meet again, we will need to face different slices of the period, and we just learned about square and opposition that are very critical, measurable, period important. But this is another piece that we can look at, and this is the half square. So we could divide the circle to even more pieces by understanding where we are in the cycle. So, in the last classes, in the first classes of this module, we focused or discussed more about Saturn and Uranus, that are very interesting one to illustrate economy and geopolitics. And we will continue to show this example with the example that I'm going to show you with Astro Gold, my favorite app to use. Indeed, you could find all those features in SolarArc and maybe other software that I don't familiar with, but this will be the same concept, what we need to search for. So let's start looking together in Astro Gold, and we are taking the display of only Uranus and Saturn. We are going to search. And if in the last time, we want first of all to know where they started the conjunction. So the current one, as I'm recording this video in 2022, we are still in a process of the closure cycle of Saturn and Uranus that started in previous 1988. Let's select as chart 1, and here is what happened back in 1988. Uranus and Saturn met in Sagittarius. We can assume that this is agenda to control the world. A simple word. And even the internet application of this, because Uranus is speaking about technology and the evolution and how to control people and how to find new ways of freedom and many things that could come inside of this equation. And we also learned that if we are moving to square and doing next, they did a square in 1999. And this was the .com bubble and the technology that this will change the world. Of course, a crisis come by this. And we continue to build all those companies that people actually that bought the stocks or those companies that offered new technologies back then earned a lot of money by the next years, by the years to follow, and including until today as I'm recording this video, 22. Then we are going after square to opposition, and we will go directly to 2008. Which brought us another crisis. So you see already the crisis of 2000, the crisis of 2008, but they led to new regulation and new standard Then it's starting with real estate management and banking, some banks that bankrupted. And then we are going to another square, and we got the 2021 that was related with the COVID crisis and the bailouts of companies and the revolution of internet. People started doing businesses online in ways they've never done before. And this agenda is to continue until we are going to conjunction after the second square, that is now the closure. We are going to a conjunction, and this will be closed in 2032. That Uranus and Saturn will meet in Gemini. All this we already done in the previous class, right? So this agenda from 1988 should be completed until 2032. And inside of this process, we experienced the crisis of 2008 and of course of the 2000 and of 2021 with a pandemic and forcing everybody to be part of the AI until closing to 2032. I want to add another important slices of those measurements, and this is called Semisquare. You see here? Semisquare. So before I want to go to conjunction, previous conjunction where we started in 1988 conjunction, and then I'm going to take semisquare, and this has happened next in 1994. As we know, Uranus and Saturn are moving slow and they are interacting with each other for around 2 years in every important aspect that we are measuring. And this could be, I continue to click next, and it's continued for 2 years, 1994 and 1995. Okay, and we are doing next. And here we are seeing another angle, Uranus in 28 degrees of Capricorn and Saturn in Pisces in 13 degrees. If we will calculate the difference between them, we will get 45 degrees. How we are drawing 45 degrees, I'm going to show you, not this, this. Before. So we have a conjunction of two planets meeting in the same place, and it could be any pair, even Venus and Mars conjunction. And then we are meeting, and we can check when they will meet again, how long will take the cycle. When they start separating from the conjunction, we could measure the first relationship that's called semisquare. Of course, both are moving, so the semisquare will happen in another signs. After they are separating from this aspect that's called semisquare, they will form a square. After this, we could have something else that I don't want to speak about it, that is another name, another sort of aspect that will divide for another 45 degrees from the place. This is another square, and from square we are moving to opposition. Then another square, but this square is the square that is ready to close. Before we are closing, we are again 45 degrees from the home point, from where it started. So this will be 45 degrees and this is 45 degrees. Let's take example of Saturn and Uranus. We discovered in the previous class that it takes them around 44 years to meet again. So if they found here in let's put here, I'll take here visible. So here it was 1988 and here it was 1994. Here it was 1999, almost the 2000. And again, they oppose each other in 2008, and they square again in 2021, and will do in 45 degrees again in a semi-square in 2027. How? I checked already. You could check for yourself. And will close a cycle to conjunct again in 2032. Look how amazing. We are already familiar with those years and what happened in the agenda that wanted to start, that started building up with the internet and the control of information. So interesting that they are going to close a cycle in 2032 that is in Gemini, that is ruled by Mercury, about communication. And this can open a major debate to include more planets to understand what is expected back then. But it also can give a hope for decentralized and very smart contracts connection between people that is not exactly as the agenda planned. So the semi-square we are drawing like this. Boom and boom. I will change color. Like this. This is the form of semi-square. We can write Saturn, semi-square 45 degrees from Uranus. And we understand that is doing a relationship that is a half square, whether to close the cycle or to open the cycle. And this is our responsibility to understand what we are reading, because if this cycle is open cycle or a closed cycle. Because when the project is beginning a new cycle, in the first part of it, it's going to be a crisis of how things come in play. And before 45, the 45 degrees before they are closing the cycle could be a crisis of the last polish, probably what's need to be gone, what's need to be taken in order for the agenda to be completed exactly. I will not open here the Pandora box to go much in the history and to do all the research. You invited to do it yourself, and always to combine with researching with what we have. If we are going to 1994, look, what is it? What happened in 1994? Wages, houses, food and gas event, including civil war in Rwanda. Nelson Mandela becomes South African president channel. You know, all those topics that we are listening in 2022 are relevant and were spoken before. If this will give me in a moment. Doesn't want to work. Yes. So we are seeing the year 1994 from the people history. It was earthquake and Michael Jackson marries Lisa. Nelson Mandela becomes president of South Africa. Estonia sinks in the Baltic Sea. First satellite. It's so interesting. Estonia is a digital country by the revolution that it's doing to manage their people. First satellite digital television service launch. Civil war in Rwanda. And this is all about people and structure. And this was just the beginning of the challenges. As we saw, then we went to 1999, that more things beyond internet started, and how we see it working. So that's what I wanted to illustrate in this class, to introduce the 45 degrees. I'm inviting you to do research yourself and to see how evolution moved when different planets, different pair of planets moved between those aspects, specifically for measuring geopolitical events that are global events. We are taking Pluto, Uranus, Saturn, and Jupiter, and this helping us to understand the evolution of things. So in a much later in the course, we are going to see how this 45 degrees is written, to be able to read in order to predict markets. And it's not demanding that much prediction, it's just giving us extra dots, because astrology can go to so many directions. And that's why I'm showing you this. I'm opening you ways to investigate, but the AstroFinance method is very technical, that based on all those things, and the more you will have understanding of the overall cycles and how things are working, you could build on it your own wisdom, your own techniques as well. And I'll see you in the next class, and I'm going to show you few examples of crisis aspects and how to interact with them later on. Stay tuned and see you.